welcome to the latest edition of the Paul Walsh Talks Advocacy and Influence podcast. And today we are delighted to be joined by Kajsa Stenström. We'll be talking about a range of topics going from the evolution of advocacy in Brussels to boutique firms versus larger consultancies, ethics in lobbying. And Kajsa, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Very good. So we're just having a brief chat before we clicked the record button. Tell me a bit about how you have seen the role of lobbying evolve in Brussels over the last decade or so.
Well, I've been here for 25, 26, what did we say? Going on 27 years. So, of course, there's been a lot of change in those decades. One of the big ones is the use of the language. When I moved to Brussels, actually straight from France, French was the going language. And that was, one of my USPs, I guess, that French was my, not native because I'm Swedish, but close to native. But then all of that has changed, in part due to the enlargement of the EU, which is another big change. I mean, we moved from 15 to nearly double number of member states in those years, and then lost one of the member states. And that, of course, has affected how we work with coalition building and approaching the various member states in a lobbying campaign. One other big change, I would say, is the moving from having several readings of a proposal to first reading deals, which makes for a much shorter legislative cycle, and you have to make sure that you get your arguments across very, very early in the process. And what else? Well, this whole evolution of delegated and implementing acts. That's added a very important chapter to what we can provide in terms of services. We help our clients to input to the development of such acts, and it's something that's become increasingly important over the years. And there are many, many more things.
I mean, is there a big change, let's say pre-Lisbon, post-Lisbon?
I don't know if I would qualify it as pre or post Lisbon, but all in all, because now we're talking more than 25 years, so it didn't all happen with Lisbon, but several of these items, yes.
And so, with what you're saying with respect to delegated and implementing acts, these are kind of lawmaking procedures that can be quite opaque and hard for people to understand. Do you agree with that? Do you think that the system is in fact quite transparent and it's other people's fault that they can't understand it? How would you characterize these acts?
I think it's correct to say that it's a not fully transparent process. And indeed, just the information about what the delegated and implementing acts are, what the difference is between the one and the other, how you can input or not into the processes, the roles of the institutions, even how the institutions describe these processes is not very straightforward. And it's something at the same time so very important to our clients. So we spend a lot of time explaining the roles again of the various bodies that are involved and where and how you can provide evidence to that process. I recently did a paper specifically on delegated implementing acts and their development. And I was reading through, the legal grounds, and it's not even clear when you read it from the institutions themselves how they're supposed to work. So I was happy to see in the newest, the 5-year strategy that they will reconsider how the expert groups are set up, etc., so that there will be maybe a little bit more openness in that process.
So you're a boutique consultancy. Does that mean that you need to specialize in certain areas, maybe of lawmaking or certain sectors? Or how can you sort of stand out and add value versus some of the larger consultancies?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We have on purpose chosen not to specialize in any specific sector. We work across many, many different areas. We work on semiconductors, on health, on energy, environment, financial services, transport. It's so exciting to be working across so many different fields, and there are more connections than you would think between critical medicines and critical semiconductors. The one area trying to copy the other in the CHIPS Act and the Critical Medicines Act, for example. So it's a very interesting perspective to be working on many fields.
What advantages do boutique firms have over larger firms?
I want to say that we are more, providing senior, tailored advice to the clients. But I think that the big firms do as well. So I don't want to take that away from them. But what I saw during the financial crisis, 2008, 2009, and also during COVID, and now with the crisis that we're living through today, I feel that a lot of companies tend to cut their big retainers with the bigger consultancies and keep their niche contracts with the smaller firms where they maybe get more, There's a cost element, I suppose, but also maybe more senior advice and targeted advice.
Okay, very good. The second thing that you're interested in is just the combination of legal work and lobbying work. I mean, do you think that it's an advantage to bring these two aspects together?
Definitely. When I worked at the law firm DLA Piper for many years, setting up their lobbying department in Brussels and then continental Europe. And we called it the Washington style because it's such a natural for the US to have these professions collaborate. And I'd say that a lot of law firms now in Brussels have copied, if I may, the setup, but it's not to the point it is to the level that it is in the US. But for me, it makes a lot of sense to cover the entire legislative cycle and work early in the process to make the laws better for our clients. And then we have the lawyers who can help them deal with the problems that come downstream.
Sure. The sort of application stage.
Yeah.
How do you think that this evolution could continue so that these two elements could be even more integrated than they are now?
From what I hear from the local law firms, they are developing their in-house public affairs teams. And I regularly collaborate with law firms on, joint client projects because it makes so much sense to work together.
Tell me a little bit about your work on digital regulation. It's kind of moving at quite a fast pace. I mean, I'm interested to hear about what you think businesses need to do to keep up with that, what type of support that you can provide from an advocacy point of view. What are some of the kind of blind spots for businesses in this space?
We will soon see a GDPR review that's been brewing for many, many years. And I think that will be one of the biggest files to watch out for, to see to what extent the GDPR will be thoroughly reviewed. And then we know from the Commission that they will calm down on the legislative proposal output. But we're expecting this whole digital omnibus package at the end of the year, further AI proposals or looking at how the AI Act is being implemented. So there's still, I fear, a lot to come. And I think from clients' perspectives, it's important to get across to the institutions that the precautionary principle that they've been applying in the digital area is, of course, very valid. We have to protect consumers and users, but it shouldn't be at the detriment of business development. There needs to be room for growth in innovative services in Europe. So that's a core message that we will continue to push.
a kind of a reshaping of the balance there, where the balance was kind of too much in favor of the precautionary principle. And now it seems like there's more of an awareness of the importance of leaving room for innovation.
For sure. I mean, since the Draghi report, I think a lot of the buzzwords have changed, and everyone is on board with the competitiveness agenda and bringing more investments to Europe and allowing for more innovation. So it's, I don't know if I would call it a paradigm shift, but close to.
Speaking about regulation, but moving to a kind of separate topic as well, do you think that the public affairs profession in Europe is an under-regulated profession?
Probably, yes. Having said that, we have many strong codes of conduct, and I was myself very involved in SEAP, Society of European Affairs practitioners. I was on the board for 15 years from the beginning of the 2000s, and we worked a lot with the institutions to set up their transparency register. But I think it's important to work not only on the transparency point, but deeper ethical issues to address conflicts of interest, or just being also honest in your work. Transparency is not enough, in a way. You can go deeper than being only transparent.
But also, there's no real barrier to entry in the profession. And so it's not something that's kind of codified. There are professional bodies, but it's not like there's a certificate that becomes de rigueur for all lobbyists. Is that an area that needs to be developed more?
I keep talking to my kids about this, because now they're at university, most of them themselves. So we talk about the fact that, anyone can become a lobbyist, and they can just take over the firm tomorrow if they wanted to. Which is maybe wonderful in some aspects, but it's an interesting fact. But I do see at university, I've also taught public affairs myself as a lecturer at a French university, and the mere fact that nowadays there are masters in public affairs, it's going in the right direction. So, but we also maybe not want. Do we want it to be part of the professional qualifications regulations? Probably not, but it's going towards a professionalization of the sector, I would say, little by little.
What advice would you give to somebody who's considering starting a career as a lobbyist?
Work for someone like me. Work in a small team, because when I started out at DLA, we were a tiny team, and it was so exciting. And you really got to do the real work. People expected you to be from day one operational. And that's what we do with our trainees. We demand a lot from them, which I think, is great, because then you get to do the real job and really grow very quickly, and also understand what it is all about.
It sounds like a career path that you would recommend to people. Yes.
That's how I lure them in.
Okay, very good. Kajsa Stenström, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.